The ZiiGaat Crescent. Let's talk about it. This is a $279 IEM sent out to me by Linsol. It does use branded drivers. Let's start by looking at the build quality, but actually before the build quality announcement, I have a quick announcement. When I started my channel about 2 years ago, I used an AI generated headphone. I decided no more, enough is enough, and I finally got someone to commission some art for my plant. This is the same plant that's here on my table. We'll be having a short Discord giveaway. If you want to join the Discord, give the plant a name, and there will be a vote on the YouTube tab here in a few weeks or so for the giveaway. You're welcome to join. So in that case, this is a special video because you guys would to see the artwork on the squig.link site as well. All right, let's look at the build quality. It's a ZiiGaat IEM with a really nice faceplate. I don't know, there's too much to be said about it. Flat 2-pin cable connector. It is vented, has a metal nozzle. I don't know, I feel it's comfortable in ears and it's durable. These are nice shells. ZiiGaat does a good job with them. They're nothing too exciting, but you know, there you go. It's not a massive looking shell. It's a little bit on the large side, but if you've tried a ZiiGaat shell, this is exactly like any of the rest of them. So I would say it's maybe 5 to 10% bigger than the Magic one, so not too bad. The case is a new case. They used the same case on the Luna. I like this case better than the ones they've been using in the past. What's interesting about this has a nice little pocket here on the right, but on the left, this insert you can take out if you so choose. It feels good in the hand. I like the color personally, but this case isn't going to be for everyone. It feels and looks premium. It just feels like a nice case that's protective and has a nice style and a nice kind of vibrant color. These are the tips and the 3.5 accessory. Now, this does have a red for right, blue for left connectors. It does have a chin slider that stays in place when you play with it. Nice black cable, white split that feels good in the hands. These are really easy to change out. Like you notice there's two little arrows where you can just align them and stick them together. So great cable, really solid. So how does this sound? Strong V, great bass, but it might be a little bit too boomy for some people. The treble is a little bit much. It's not as clean, as incisive as other IEMs might be, but I find it to be really, really good and a really clean IEM. I guess the problem is that sometimes it's easy to be hyperbolic and get really excited about an IEM like this. It's beautiful, it's reasonable in cost, it has good accessories, better than ZiiGaat's other IEMs. But I mean, how much better is it other than other IEMs, especially if you EQ? That's a hard thing to always justify in the IEM market. Like, what do you get? In this case, nice set of accessories, branded drivers, which to a lot of people means something, and a great overall sound that gets a strong recommendation. Let's try to look at some graphs and talk a little bit more about the sound, but this is a very competent IEM, and if you're after an IEM in the the $200 to $300 range, I think you should at least consider the ZiiGaat Crescent, and let's get into more why that might be the case. All right, there is our little plant friend here on the squig.link site. And so wanted to show you what the graph of the Crescent looks like. It's a nice overall graph. Has a good amount of mids, a good amount of upper air and treble, a good amount of bass. It might be too bassy for some people, but I think people overall are going to like it. Let's look at a few other IEMs and kind of get into it. The ZiiGaat Odyssey is one this is going to be compared to. The ZiiGaat Odyssey is a little bit more, I wouldn't say as vibrant. It's a little bit more laid back. It has a little bit less sub bass. Its tonality is very similar. Again, if you like the ZiiGaat Odyssey, do I feel the Crescent is the upgrade? Yeah, but I feel it's also very slight. And I feel that there are people that, if you are sensitive to massive amount of bass, the Crescent may not be the direct upgrade for you. It's I do feel like the technicalities and the feeling I get from the Crescent being pretty good, but I don't think it's so good that it's going to be perfect for everybody. Like sometimes when you get this really boomy tonality, it's hard to do right. It's hard to make it as a perfect tonality, and it's not always easy to do. but I do feel that the Crescent has done a great job, and it's really going to be fun for certain tracks of music. Let's look at a few of other ZiiGaat's recent releases. We won't do them all. Let's look at the Arcanus. And the Arcanus is what I kind of call a vocal specialist. You'll know a big dip in the 6K region. To me, it feels dark. If you're sensitive to this upper treble, like a lot of people are, it's not just me, it's a lot of other people. This might be a really fun kind of vocal forward audiophile tune set. Whereas like the Crescent's a little bit more V-shaped, way better bass, or way more amount of bass, a little bit more exciting of a presentation. A little bit more, I would say, fun than the Arcanus, but the Arcanus has a very natural, special tonality that's not really sibilant for me and does a really good job. I think the Arcanus is a great set, and it actually reminds me of more expensive sets. I think it's just really neat. You look at something like the Lush. This is more like their JM1 style Target IEM. Really nice set, and it's pretty reasonable in price right now. The most recent set that ZiiGaat came out with is the Luna. Now the Luna is kind of my bae. I really like the Luna. It reminds me a lot. It has like really great extension, really great micro details, maybe a little bit less bass. There's a lot of things to be said about the Luna, but it feels really expressive and clean and crisp. Whereas the Crescent feels, I wouldn't say muddy, but not as clean. Like if you're really after like upper treble, like upper details and sparkle, probably the Luna is going to be the better way to go, despite it being about $100 more. But if you're really after something with a little bit more bass, and again, we're not talking about a massive amount of bass, but when you're talking about two neutral sets, this amount of bass does make an impact. And it is going to come across a little bit bassier, a little bit more rich, a little bit more organic. It does come across a little bit boomy to me. And if I had to pick, like if someone's like, which of these sets do you want? Would you like more? I personally would go with the Luna because I feel it's a little bit more audiophile tuned. But that's the thing. You know, I've listened to a lot of different sets, and maybe my opinion's a little bit jaded because of that. But I do find the Crescent, like a lot of people are going to complain that, you know, the Crescent isn't really competitive in its market and it's not that good. I think it's fantastic, and I think it's competitive with the other $300 sets. So what else is at $300? Well, there also is like the Dyna Quattro, which is a set I haven't talked about in a while, but it's a really solid set with a really solid amount of bass, a lot of upper mids, has a lot of 8K, and its upper treble is not going to be for everybody. There's a little bit of a dip here. But I like the Dyna Quattro. It feels rich. It feels organic. It feels powerful. With the Crescent, you get that same amount with a little bit more richer mids, a little bit more sub bass, a little bit less of a shouty peak, a little bit more refinement. And I think like the branded drivers really show too. I definitely would go the Crescent over the Dyna Quattro. But I mean, there are reasons that the Dyna Quattro has a different approach to bass. And it might be something that people really like. Kind of my go-to right around this price is the Awful P7. I think it's a fantastic set. Again, a little bit less bass, a little bit less upper mids. But it also has the zingy treble. I think the upper air of the Crescent is done better than the Awful P7. It has really nice micro details, and it's just really crispy and clean. Now, part of the Crescent is that it does have kind of this upper like 8K to 10K. And so it's almost like sometimes you'll hear audiophiles like talk about the details. The Crescent will have this almost like unnatural sense to it that like it's not necessarily natural. It's a little bit of elevated bass, a little bit of extra upper air. So it's a little bit, whereas I call the Awful P7 like a mild V. The Crescent is a little bit exaggerated V and a little bit much for some people, and that's just something to note. But again, it doesn't have that extra zing of the P7, which is kind of a characteristic of that treble, and has a very unique characteristic to that treble, which makes it like it's not going to be for everybody, despite me personally liking it. And that's kind of something I wanted to try to explain. I really like the Astral. I think the Astral is a great set. Again, a little bit less bass, a little bit more natural. Again, a little bit more zingy treble, a little bit more U-shaped rather than say like a mild V-shaped. And that's kind of what the Crescent is but I think it's a well done U-shaped set, and it's still within a fun, rich wheelhouse. But again, it does have a bit of bass, which it might bother some people, especially on some tracks. If we look at other stuff like the Zen's Magrid Top Pro, very similar graphs. I mean, you'll notice a little bit more mid bass on the Crescent, a little bit less upper mids in the Crescent as well. So it's almost like you're getting a little bit of a darker tilt to it, you know, on the, like again, but also in this area, it's kind of more U-shaped. So it's like it raises this region, lowers this region, raises this region, but a lot of similarities with the Top Pro. I like the Top Pro. The Top Pro to me is like S tier. And so what's the difference between these two? Very minor. Like if I had to quantify this in percentages, I'd probably say 1 to 2%. Like if you're looking for a Zen's Magrid Top Pro and you see the Crescent, it gets a strong recommendation. I think you're gonna like it. I think it's a good set. I really enjoy my time with it, and I think it's hyper competitive at the market. But you also have to know what you're looking for. Another one I wanted to show you is the Punch Audio Marlitto or Martillo, or however people want to say it, and I want to show that to you just to kind of show you something real quick here. So here's the Martillo. You'll notice it has a ton of sub bass, a little bit more cleaner of this lower mid-range area. And it has just a different approach to treble. I think the Martillo has great upper air, and that upper air is a little bit more dialed back, and it might be a little bit more towards your liking. Again, even more sub bass. So again, these are different approaches where, like, again, this has like elevated bass and elevated upper air, which people might like. And you know, like the Punch Audio Martillo has this increased sub bass, and it becomes like a bass headset. Is the Crescent a bass headset? No, it's like bass head light. It's like regular normal size IEM bass head. It's not crazy person IEM bass head. And I think its bass is done really quite well, and it's fully enjoyable. But it's like this combination of extra bass and extra like mid-range energy can come across a little bit, at least to my feeling and my liking, and based on what I've liked, that just it kind of edges it out of why I don't really absolutely love it and think there's minor issues that we could fix with the Crescent. But having said that, it's still tuning wise, driver wise, everything else, it's still a fantastic value and a fantastic. All right, so let's rank it up. The Crescent is a solid, strong A+. I mean, I'm giving it an 8 for dynamics, which is a good score. It's really dynamic. I'm giving it an 8 for mids. It doesn't feel like a mid-centric set, but the mids are really nice. I'm giving its treble also an 8. Like it's a unique set where its tuning is very, very well done, and its soundstage and its technical details are also really well done. It's an all-around great set. If we look at each price point, you know, how does it do? We compare this to stuff like the Kiwi's Astral. You know, like again, the Crescent's a little more U-shaped. It has a little bit more bass. If you're looking for something with just a slight tad of bass, I would go with the Crescent. But the Performer 7 and the Astral are also really, really competitive, in my opinion. I would take the Crescent over the Odyssey personally, because I think it's just a little bit more fun, a little bit more engaging, at least in my wheelhouse and what I like. If you look at by the brand, for me, I like the Arcanus more than the Crescent and the Luna. But I do feel that the Crescent is hyper competitive at the market, and that it's one of the ones to beat. The ZiiGaat Crescent gets a strong recommendation, but you got to know what kind of a set you're looking for, what kind of bass level you're looking for, what kind of air you're looking for. If you're looking for something with elevated bass, elevated air, and that has a fun, engaging signature, but is still what I would consider neutral, the ZiiGaat Crescent is quite fantastic. It's not going to be for everybody. It's for me. It's a favorite set of mine. It's something I'm going to keep at my desk readily, which I won't say about every single set. It's something that I want to explore more and listen to more, like even after the review. And that doesn't happen very often. So for me, this set is like what I would call, what other reviewers might call, like a strong level 4, like a really strong set that I think people should highly consider and demo when they get the chance. I think it's very special, but I think that it's hard to say that every set is class leading in its own line. And I think for me, I would prefer something that's a little bit more of a well-rounder, a little bit less mids and bass and upper energy treble, the treble a little bit more neutral. But this thing is still absolutely fantastic. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, and I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye for now.
Go!
Go!
Go on with you!
You're mid, you're mid, you're mid, you're legendary. You're mid, Jaytis out.